back to another tactical breakdown, which is my little review show. Today it's the one for the weekend, which was the game against Fulham. Ended 1-1. Most definitely a game of two halves. Before I get into it, we'll take a look at how Fulham lined up. Obviously, I did in the preview show. I put up their previous Premier League lineup. So Saturday, this is how they lined up. They lined up with Leno in goal. It was then Robinson, Bassi, Anderson and Tete across the back four. Lukic and Pereira in what's becoming known as the double pivot. Iwobi, Smith Rowe and Adama supporting a return to the starting lineup in Raul Jimenez. It's a good side. I'll be honest, I was very, very impressed with Robinson down that left. His link-up play with Iwobi. Smith Rowe seems to be making everything tick currently in the middle of that park for Fulham. And looks like he could be a really good signing for them. Adama, again, for me, as much as he's, what was it? I heard someone say he's a wish app, Mikel Antonio. So I found quite amusing. I did read he needs 20 shots to score one. And then Jimenez up front, I just think it's a very good side. They seem to tick, connect. Their link-up play is very, very good. This is how I wanted us to line up. This, if you remember from the preview, this was my starting 11 that I would have loved to have seen go out. However, Moyes Mark II, in my opinion, at the moment, and for Saturday's game, which is all this review is about, I'm going to call him Moyes Mark II because he was stubborn. And it's the same mistakes that we've seen before. So this was our starting lineup. You can see there also I added the bookings for the starters. And then obviously we got the subs there that came on to replace those that went off. And when I saw Souček and Antonio start, first things I thought there, as you can see, the lineup: Areola, Emerson, Kilman, Mav, AWB, Rodriguez and Alvarez in the pivot, Kudus, Souček, Bowen and Antonio. And what I thought there was, where's the creativity? You've got 6 defensive players on that pitch, which I don't have a problem with if you're going to have the other 4 being creative attacking players, which they weren't. Yes, Antonio, up front on his day, which he doesn't have his day very often. And it's for me, it's really frustrating when we're repeating the same mistakes, for want of a better word. As I said at the top of the show, first half we were really quite poor. For me, the lineup was completely wrong. For me, a 6 a.m. UK time finish in Honduras for Mikel Antonio wasn't conducive to getting the best out of him on Saturday afternoon. And the proof is, and again, when you're trying to play a brand of football that we play, when you've got a player that continuously drifts out to the left, we then have no one in a forward position at the top of the pitch, and it makes it very difficult. You could take your pick of poor players in the first half. Really, there were plenty. They get a penalty shout relatively early on. It's just before they go ahead and they go 1-0 up. 16 minutes in, Adama Traore gets away from the West Ham defence. It's a bit of a lapse, and he bears down on goal. Kilman recovers and gets back. Now, if this is the other way, okay, I know that Silva got booked, the Fulham manager, for his protests here. If this is the other way, initially, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be miffed. I'm going to not understand why we didn't get the penalty. But looking back on it, and I'll be honest, at first glance, I thought it was a penalty to Fulham. I did. But, and this is where I'm screaming for a penalty. But watching it back, Traore is in a perfect position to get his shot away the second before Kilman makes contact. It starts off as a bit of Kilman's shoulder is just behind Traore's. Kind of it's not quite shoulder to shoulder. It's kind of just behind him. But if you watch Traore comes across Kilman, so it's like he's trying to buy the penalty. And the way I'm going to assume the referee has seen it is that as Traore gets to the box, he has the opportunity to take the shot in the second before Kilman kind of makes connection on the shoulder as Traore goes to come across him. Traore instigates the contact by coming across. So I think the way the referee's looking at it is because of that, he's instigated the contact in the moments after it would have been easier for him to take a shot. That's why the penalty's not been given. I understand the frustrations of the Fulham fans. As I say, Silva gets booked by Robinson for his protests, I suppose. VAR looked at it. They didn't think it was a penalty. They agreed with the on-field decision. So be it. So be it. But 9 minutes later, we really don't learn our lesson. 8 minutes, 9 minutes later, we really don't learn our lesson from these players getting in behind. Now, Mavropanos does not cover himself in glory with this whatsoever. It is so poor from the Greek centre-back. So the ball's played in, I think it was from Pereira. And it's a good ball. It's a great run, but it's poor defending. Mav tries to step up on his own. He's not looking around for where Kilman or Emerson or AWB are. He tries to step up on his own. And Smith Rowe is a good 5 yards onside, like easily 5 yards onside, breaks clear. So the first thing Mav does is put his hand up. He goes back to his old Arsenal days and the Arsenal days of George Graham. What was it? The full Monty kind of step up with your hand in the air kind of thing. But then he doesn't rush to get back. He kind of ambles back. He dallies slightly and gives Smith Rowe every opportunity to keep the ball in play and then set himself. Mav then comes over, the typical stance, hands behind the back. But he turns his body side on, opens his legs. Smith Rowe puts it through his legs towards the near post. And for me, it's a really, really good finish from Jimenez. He basically, it's a good run towards the near post, beats Kilman to it, and Jimenez taps it, into the back of the net, 1-0 Fulham. And you could be fearful, or could have been fearful, that this was going to be another 5-0 drubbing. I mean, we really weren't at the races in the first half. The first half performance by us was really quite shocking. But what I will say, although he got the initial lineup wrong, okay, and very wrong. Let's not mess around here. He got it very, very wrong. Okay. You get to half time and Lopetegui clearly sees that he's made a mistake. Clearly sees that what he was looking for in the first half wasn't there. So got to give credit where credit's due. It's something that Moyes would never have done. We know this, and I'm not going to belabor the point, shall we say, labour the point, whatever the words are. Oh, never mind. And he brings on Somerville and Paqueta, taking off Antonio and Souček. We then get the side that I asked for in my lineup. Bowen moved into a forward position, Somerville out on the left, Kudus moved over to the right. So the second half, I got my lineup, my predicted lineup, my preferred lineup. So we got that. And we looked better. I mean, if you go watch the highlights online, you'll notice that most of our chances come in the second half. Now, it's not ideal. It's not fantastic. I mean, if you take a look at the stats that were there, they weren't pretty. Fulham 55% of the ball. It's difficult to. It's a difficult one to take. I mean, what was it? They had 21 shots. Only 5 on target, but they still get 25 chances. We only make 11 chances. We only get 3 on target. We did block 8 shots of theirs. They blocked 3 of ours. And it's hard to see that when, in the first half, we were so poor. Now, that being said, we get to 61 minutes and it's fantastic from Bowen and it's even better from Leno, in my opinion. Now, if you go back and you watch it, it's a great first touch from Bowen. Soufal and Kudus link up down the right and Kudus finds Bowen with the ball into the box. And it all happens so quickly. So you have to watch it a couple of times to understand just how good the first touch from Jarrod Bowen is. Just how good of a we know how good of a player is. He brings the ball down and it's just enough time to get a snapshot away. His first, as good as his first touch was, as great as his first touch was, as sublime, the reactions and the movement from Leno are better. It's a really, really good save. You can blame Bowen for not dinking it, but it's all happening quickly. And it's for me, it's a fantastic save. Just to rewind a bit, a couple of minutes before that, Emerson had to go off. He was substituted for Soufal, which meant that AWB went over to the left, which I will say AWB had a better go of it after that because he was quite poor in the first half. I think he struggled. I think he struggled against Iwobi. I really do. I think it wasn't great. Him and Robinson really kind of kept AWB kind of penned back slightly. He comes, he then comes over to the left, has a better time of it. We get a bit further down the line. Soler comes on for Rodriguez. Ings comes on for Alvarez. And it's kind of all eggs in the top basket now for Lopetegui. He's gone all in at this point. Now we're lucky. I think Soler is very, very lucky to avoid a second yellow. If he's not on the first yellow, that tackle is definitely a yellow card. I think it happens about 85, 86 minutes. 80, about that. He could have been sent off, which I think ends the game there and then. He's not. We get away with one. And then we get to 95 minutes and A hero rises. Never, ever thought I'd hear myself use those words. Tongue in cheek, of course. But Danny Ings to the rescue, a 95th minute equaliser, and we come away from Craven Cottage stealing a point. I don't think there's any other way to put it. We stole a point. We were poor first half, and as much improved as we were in the second half, it still wasn't good enough. The goal comes. Somerville and Kudus swap places. Kudus wasn't great yesterday. His head was down. Saturday, his head was down. He looked very disinterested out on that left to start with, and then obviously he ends up back out there at the end of the game, which in a way kind of gets us the goal because Somerville gets the ball. Now he runs forward. He literally runs into two Fulham players. Soufal's overlapping down the right. He decides to bring the ball slightly in field. He runs directly into two players. He has to check back. He checks back. He comes back towards our goal, starts coming more towards the touchline, runs into a third Fulham player, and then has no choice but to turn and hook a right-footed clearance / pass towards Soufal, which is deflected out of play. We get a bit lucky in the sense of the word because he managed to keep hold of the ball and win a throw on. Bowen stops the ball. It's about halfway into their half. Bowen stops the ball and he gently throws it back to Soufal. And the second the ball leaves his hands and is going towards the direction of Soufal, Bowen's on his way. Now, I thought the throw from Soufal was too long. I thought it was running out of play. And credit to Bowen. If he doesn't get on his bike immediately when he throws the ball to Soufal, he doesn't get there. So credit to Bowen for having the sense and kind of what the awareness of what was going on around him to get going. He gets to the byline and it's a first time ball back towards the penalty spot. And Danny Ings is there. And I'm telling you now, as good as Bowen's touch in the first half, or the one that was saved by Leno, or the second half, 61 minutes, the one that was saved by Leno, Ings' touch is better. Ings' touch is so much better. He takes two defenders completely out of the game with the touch, completely out of the game. So Bowen pulls it in from the right to the left, across to the left-hand side. Danny Ings' first touch takes it back to where it came from and completely wipes out two defenders. And he finishes low into the right-hand corner of the net. Bottom right-hand corner, as close to the post as you're ever going to see it go. Leno gets a hand to it. Should he have done better? I don't care. At this point, I don't care. My answer is yes, he should have done better. I also think he maybe preempted that Danny Ings was going to go back across goal. So to Leno's right, going back across to the left from Ings. And he kind of takes a step, it off balances him. He has to come back down to his left-hand side, gets a hand to it, pushes it into the net. We walk away with a 1-1 draw in a game where we weren't fantastic. We weren't at it. And if Lopetegui is still trying to work out what his best starting 11 is, well, it wasn't that one. Somerville looked lively in the second half, which was, for me, was good. I liked the way he looked. He looked driven. He wanted. Again, Kudus being stuck out on that left-hand side, I think he's beginning to get a bit miffed. You know, it's hard because these are the players you need to keep at the peak of their abilities and at the peak of their mindset, because these are the guys that can change games for you. Kudus, Bowen, Paqueta. And if Bowen has first halves like he's had most first halves this season, and Kudus is walking around with his head dropped because, you know, he feels, you know, disinterested, uninterested, disinterested, call it what you will. We're not going to be in a great place because of that. we have to. These footballers are like finely tuned motor vehicles. You have to keep them there. Gonzo over at Hammer's Chat did a video this morning that I watched that likened West Ham to being a Ferrari driven by an old lady, and he's right. He is right. I on my notes from the weekend, it's exactly what I had. I had us down as an elite motor vehicle being driven by a learner. It's just not. It's just not how it works. As fans, we have our preferences, don't we? We have our preferences of starting lineups, tactical setups. Do we feel that we need to have the double pivot in Rodriguez and Alvarez, like I set us up as, or like to have seen us set up with, and how we started in the second half. But some people don't like that. They don't feel that we need that. They would like to see two up top and go like a 4-1-3-2 sort of formation, or a 4-1-4-1 formation, and that's fine. Everyone's, you can have that. I don't see why we can't all agree to disagree and try to have conversations. But we all of us are very, very aware that with what we have right now, to still be starting Souček, to still be starting Antonio, can only lead to disaster. It's not. We're running at 50% as a team when we have to carry those two. No disrespect. Listen, as I've said before, I love Souček. I love Coufal. I think they've been fantastic servants for the club, but the time comes when you have to upgrade. We've upgraded Coufal with AWB. We've upgraded Souček with Soler, with Somerville. And yet we still insist on playing Souček. We've upgraded Antonio. I know people don't necessarily believe that, but I think Fulkrug will come good. Still think he has a goal every 2, maybe 3 games in him. He can end the season with 15 goals, give or take, and I do believe that. But on the other side of that, if you say we haven't upgraded Antonio with Fulkrug, well, we've upgraded Antonio with Somerville, which allows Bowen to go in a central forward role, which then allows Kudus to go to the right, Paquetá in the 10, and Somerville over on the left. So the options are there. My wanted lineup here shows that. It shows, not that one, sorry, that's the one that we used. That one there, that's the starting lineup that I wanted to see. Now, that front 4 there are fluid, are dynamic. They're interchangeable. All of them are interchangeable. Paquetá can go left. Somerville can come right. Kudus can go into the 10. Bowen can drop. Somerville can go further forward. It's all rotational and fluid. And we just need to figure out. We need to figure out how to get the best out of these players. If he wants to play a possession-based football at the back and break quickly, you need pace. You need a footballing mentality, and no disrespect to Souček, that's not it. Does Paquetá have the weight of the world on his shoulders with regards to this betting scandal coming in? That's that. Who knows? I believe that's being dealt with in January, which is, I believe, why we've gone and got Soler. But we need to be using these players. We need to be using Soler. We need to be using Paquetá in the right position. We need to be using Kudus and Somerville in the right positions to get the best out of them. And if we can do that, I genuinely believe that we will push on. It's not been a disastrous first start. It really hasn't. It really hasn't. Could it have been better? Yes. But we've lost 2 games to Champions League teams. I don't think that's too bad. I don't think it's awful. 2 games to Champions League teams. You know, we've beaten Palace, who also beat us last year. We got a point against Fulham on the weekend. We lost to them twice last year. So, all in all, yes, we snatched a point. It wasn't the best first half performance. It was much improved, but still very lackluster, shall we say, in the second half. But we come away with a point. We've improved on that result from last season. We improved on the Palace result last season. Okay, we got a draw against Villa. We lost against City. It's not awful. I'm not pushing the panic button yet. I'm not pushing the Lopetegui, same old a new West Ham, same as the old. I'm not pushing those buttons yet. It was a big overhaul. It's 8 new players in there. I'm not panicking yet, and I hope you guys aren't either. That being said, guys, hit like on the stream. Like the video. It does gets me out there to more West Ham fans to listen to, if they want to listen to my rubbish. If they don't, they don't. I mean, hey. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I do any other videos. Just a quick note on Long Lane. My brother's side, we lost 3-2 at the weekend. Yours truly was sent into the car park. Referee very inconsistent. Sin-binned one of the Long Lane players for swearing at him in frustration. Doesn't return the favour 15 minutes later when one of the other team's players swear at him in frustration. I then swear at him in frustration and I get sent off. You can't make it up. You really can't. His exact words to me were, I didn't hear the player swear at me. I was like, mate, he was 25 yards closer to you than I am. And you didn't hear it, and I heard every word. So I'm not proud of it. It's what it is. All you ask for is consistency, really. We do as fans watching our Premier League sides and our football teams. And I'm the same when I go watch my brother's team. But we lost 3-2. The team we lost to are top of the league. They've won all 5 games now. So it's a little bit frustrating. But it is, we go on. West Ham have their next game against Chelsea at the weekend, 12:30 kickoff on TNT Sports. I'll be doing a preview for that later on in the week. Tonight, however, at 9 o'clock, returning to the channel is an old favourite. It's going to be done slightly differently because it's me on my own. But it's Hammer Time of the year. It's when we, Hammer Time of our lives, sorry. It's when I now, on my own, review the seasons gone by, and I do believe this week is the 2002-2003 season, which sees us relegated on the final game of the season when we draw 2-2 with Birmingham. But tune in at 9 o'clock tonight for that one. It was a very enjoyable show when we did it before. Myself and Gatesy with Andy Miles started it off, and in later episodes we were joined by Jazz and other West Ham fans. I'm hoping as I get it back up and running, I might get some other West Ham fans to come and join me and talk about the seasons as we go. But I believe we're at 2002, 2003. So tune in at 9 o'clock tonight. And yeah, as I say, leave your comments below as to what you thought on the game on Saturday. And I shall see you later on this evening for Hammer Time. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.